Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is our second episode on Heavenly Enlightened. We hope you guys enjoyed the first one. I'm super excited to dive in this week.
I am too.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you want to give the trigger warnings a little bit of a descriptive of what's about to happen in this episode?
Yes, so last week was more, I would say, surface level.
Yeah.
This week is going to be more details, more stories. So choose, if these topics trigger you. We did put a disclaimer out in the beginning, but these topics are going to be more detailed, more we want to bring you guys in, give you guys more details to how the environment was, our experiences, our feelings, what we saw, relationships, domino effects, all of that. So this one's going to be more descriptive than the last one.
So, please be advised at your own discretion whether you choose to watch it or not. Our stories are very traumatic and very triggering for some.
Mm-hmm.
So, if this episode is a little bit too hard for you to listen, or you're just not in the right state of mind to listen to it, please take care of yourself and we'll see you in the next one. All right.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
I am.
How you been?
I've been good.
Good.
Since the last episode, we did want to, or I did want to put out there, this is the beginning. We are starting this, so we are taking into consideration like things that we're seeing, like okay, maybe we should clarify more on this, things that we should be more cleaner on, timelines, things like that.
Yeah.
So just be patient with us. We will get better over time. This is just first go around. Thank you for your patience and thank you for choosing to still listen.
Yes. And if you see me reaching over here, we do have notes just to help us kind of organize it. And like Wendy said here, like we're just getting better at this as time progresses. So we thank you for your patience. But we are so glad that you were here. And last week we talked about growing up with a mom who was, into her substances. I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned last episode,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm the one who edits these videos. So I didn't realize that when I said that mom's choice of drug was methamphetamine, it didn't register to me until I rewatched our video
Mm-hmm.
that you had said that that was your first time ever knowing what kind of drug she was on.
Mm-hmm. Because mom, like, she kind of like, I didn't know this, but if you are an addict or were an addict, every time you go to the doctors, hospitals, like, I guess that's in your record. Because sometimes, like, even like in like mom's situation, like she'll go in and like certain drugs or like medications they can't prescribe to her because of her drug of choice. And I didn't know that when they go into the doctors, that is a common question that they ask. And they'll ask, like, for example, they'll ask like our mom, what was your drug of choice? And I heard my mom like mention that topic, but I don't think she ever answered it like when I was around.
Mhm.
So hearing that last week, like that was just like confirmation. I knew it was a drug. I just didn't know what was
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, I was like I said last week I was editing it and I was just like, "Oh, I don't think my brain registered that you said that.
At the
Oh, that
moment.
was yeah, that was your first time ever hearing about mom's choice of drug."
Mhm.
So, tying in about what we talked about last week,
Mhm.
like we said, this week is a little bit more in depth, a
Mhm.
little bit more triggering for some.
Mhm.
Um, I want to tie back into the timeline of kind of replaying what we talked about last week.
Mhm.
10 years old Daisy, 7-year old Wendy, and this was after mom regained custody.
Mhm.
And we weren't clear. Well, you were really good at mentioning the timeline and like the different I guess custody of how it went down
Like
last week.
households.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we were in the foster family. We went into this facility where it was just all women and kids, and
Mhm.
we were there for a couple months. And then afterwards we moved into that Tustin apartment where we talked about the poor old lady.
And the
Uh
chocolates.
yeah, and the chocolates. So I'm gonna go back into that timeline,
Mhm.
and we're in the Tustin apartment, and I want to talk about, if you remember, and again, like I said last week, mom was young.
Mhm.
She was in her 20s, and she got pregnant with me at 14, but then she had me at 15. So she really missed out on all her teen years, all her
Mhm.
partying, everything. So mom was really big into partying back then. Do you remember?
Yeah, her clubbing, her drinking,
Yeah. So
her
what do you
friends, her
yeah.
homies. Mhm.
Exactly. So what do you remember about mom back then clubbing?
I rarely like I don't really have too many, but I would say it's more so of like things that I remember hearing versus seeing.
Okay.
I remember hearing like well one I remember that she would be gone for a couple of days, but I remember hearing like men like just intoxicated, like that laughter, that like sloppy drunk, I
Yeah.
don't know what else laughter. It was more so that like just hearing it. I don't really remember faces, the people.
So it's all a blur to you.
Yeah, but I do remember I wasn't in the Tustin apartments, but I do remember mom taking us to this. It looked like a garage because there was a bunch of shelves with like a bunch of like tools or like I don't know, and it smelled like cigarettes and smoke. And this guy had like curly hair. I'm like getting the flashback as I speak, so I'm trying to describe it. But I think maybe when our mom comes back, she'll be able to provide more clarity with that because I don't know who that was. I don't know what garage that was. That wasn't ours at the testing. But I remember that she would be gone. She was not very responsible. She would put us in places that weren't the safest,
Yeah.
including that garage, because I do remember it just being like I remember seeing the smoke, like it was thick in smoke.
Mm.
I remember the smell of cigarettes.
Mm.
And whoever that man with curly hair is, I don't know. You're still in my brain, so something must have. I don't
Brought
know.
that back to you because I don't even listening to you right now talking about it, I don't remember that.
No.
And that's the thing that I feel like as viewers, like they need to be aware of. Like when you've gone through so much trauma that no one really talks about this, when you've gone through so much trauma, your brain, it's there's research out there.
Mhm.
And if there's not,
No, there is.
okay.
100%.
There's research out there where like when you've gone through so much trauma, your brain kind of in a way like creates a cocoon in
Like
itself
shelters
yeah,
you.
to shelter you and to protect you. So a lot of these traumatic memories you don't really, there's some that you remembered so vividly and then there's some that you're like you forget. So for me in my instance, the way that you're saying about this curly haired man, like I am digging through my brain right now and I can't find
Mhm.
that memory. I don't remember that memory.
Do you remember anything about like? Because I mentioned that, but I also mentioned hearing men laughing in the apartment. Do you have any memories on that?
Yes. So I remember mom would be gone for weeks on end, and we touched base a little bit about it last week
Mhm.
about like how mom was very
Promiscuous girl.
promiscuous. Yeah, exactly. But also the fact that like we knew that like her food was her food and we'd
Mhm.
kind of get the leftovers.
Mhm.
So I remember when mom was going clubbing, sometimes she'd disappear for like for a week. I remember her being gone for a full week and I just had to take care of you and then the two younger ones. And whenever mom would go clubbing, I would stay up late because she'd come back like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
and they would not care that there's kids sleeping in the house. I don't even think the men knew that there was kids sleeping in the house, or maybe they did,
You just
but
didn't care.
they just didn't care because they would come in and they would be so loud, drunk, and mom would bring these random men home. And
Mhm.
I remember waking up and just so scared that one of these guys would come into our room because I was 10, you were 7, the other two were 3 and 2. And like, look, there are people out there with the wrong intentions of seeing a single mom. They'll get her drunk under the influence of something and then they'll take advantage of your kids. So I just remember staying up at night and like scared that one of these men would come into our room and do something to us. And because I already had that motherly instinct of I need to protect my cubs, basically, like I had
Yeah.
to protect these kids, like I'd stay up and I wouldn't get sleep until they would leave the next morning.
And then
Yeah.
when like eventually they would leave,
Yeah.
what was like would mom ever say anything? Like was there ever like a conversation afterwards? Like cuz they would just come and do what? Like just kick it, smoke, do
Yeah,
drugs like
they would just drink. I don't know about drugs because I never saw it and I can't remember it off the
mhm.
top of my head, but would remember that they would just get drunk, even more drunk. And they, like I said, they just didn't care. They'd be laughing. And we all know, like, when someone gets drunk,
It's
like,
that like just like not dirty, but just like everywhere laughter, like sloppy.
yeah, like
It's like a
sloppy.
sloppy laughter.
Yeah, exactly. So I just remember hearing that,
Yeah.
but I would stay inside the house because I'm inside our room because again I didn't know what their intentions were. And then the next morning mom would be hungover. So there was never
Mm.
ever a conversation. Matter of fact, she'd be hungover the morning of, and then that same night she'd be out again, like clubbing and doing what yeah, she'd be gone for days and yeah.
Um, we had a total of, well, counting three.
Yeah.
Counting her would be four. When you reference her being gone for like a week, we went to school,
Mhm.
obviously. As far as the two younger ones, do you have like any memory as to would we even take them? Like, was our mom's choices her not her preference, but her priorities, would they affect us or attendance or anything like that, like at school with the little ones? Because you were the
Yeah.
one responsible for it.
Yeah.
You were the
I
oldest when she was gone.
I have this memory of like I knew that I had to get up and get you girls up and also like get the two younger ones dressed ready. There was this daycare lady who would come and I don't know what the arrangement was between her and mom,
Mm-hmm.
but she would come and pick up the two younger ones and take them to daycare. And then sometimes she'd drop us off at school. So I don't know what it was, but she would come at like our door, pick them up, and like take them to daycare and drop us off at school. And if not, like if she didn't have time to drop us off, then me and you would walk to school.
I remember us walking to school because our school was maybe 2-3 blocks
Yeah.
away. But I mean, if mom wasn't there for a week, I already know kind of what was going on with us.
Mhm.
Where were the girls at? But I do remember. I remember her car, her like red
Yeah.
troquita
Yeah.
or like van or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I feel like we went there like once or twice, no? Because I remember playing with like a big
Yeah,
firefighter
we
truck
did go to the daycare once. And again, I don't know what the like
arrangement
was
was.
the arrangement. Yeah, but when mom was gone for like a week or like weeks on end, like the daycare lady never asked questions. Like she would come, pick them up, and then drop them off. Like there
Yeah.
was never no questions asked. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was, yeah, it was just weird.
One of the things that mom was really good at was manipulating us into not saying anything. Because we did have workers involved, but it was just like, what, once a month, I would say. But also, even with the men, like, as much as the abuse was going on, the neglect, all that was happening at home. And yes, like, for example, the daycare lady would come, then you would have those men come, the social worker, and there was nothing was being done. There
Yeah.
wasn't like investigation or anything. I feel like mom was really good at like hiding those sides of her
Yeah.
from people, because when the men were there, when there was people around, obviously when workers and stuff like that, she was on her best behavior. But when she was gone is when I feel like that angry side of the drug, or maybe just the angry side of her, is when it came out.
Mhm.
She would, to my memory, to our memory, there would be games. I say now, like, I say that those are just torture games, just
Yeah.
because what is that? Um, do you remember any of those games or any one of or those like things she would
Yeah.
do?
I remember so one of the vivid memories that I have and I like that you said that mom was really good at manipulating people because she used that to her advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And mom was a flirt. So I feel like with men, it was easy to convince them like, they're fine. They're grown. Like, they're my kids, but they got it. They got to handle it. It's the oldest. She can do it. Like, it's okay. With social workers, like you said, she was on her best behavior. With the
Mhm.
daycare lady, that'd be a great question to ask when she's actually on the podcast.
Mhm.
But with us, manipulation was using terror, was using our fear against us to like do anything and everything that she said she wanted.
I just got a flashback. Sorry to
Okay,
interrupt. But
no,
do you
go for
remember
it.
the closet? There was a closet outside of the patio. One of them had toys. The other one was an empty one with a light, and there were spiders in it.
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
remember? And correct me if I'm wrong, but did one of us get locked in there on accident, or
Yes.
because I
I
remember being in there and I was scared shitless. Excuse my French, but I was scared because
yeah,
now, fun fact, I'm scared of the dark, and
we both
maybe
are.
that's probably one of the reasons to why. Because it was a really tight, small closet.
Yeah.
One of them, like the bigger one on the outside, it had like all like some toys,
Yeah.
and then
Like
there was
scooters and
this,
stuff.
yeah, like outside stuff, and then that small one, there was nothing in it. I don't even know if it had another purpose besides like a timeout room, because there
Yeah.
was nothing in it the whole
Yeah.
time.
No, yeah.
I remember that.
That's crazy. You see how like as we talk things through, like
And it
things
just
come up?
like
Yeah. No, I do remember her using, now that you say it, I remember her using that room to lock us in. And it was like there was a overhead light that you could turn
uh-huh.
on, but if you turned it on, you could see it underneath. So if you were to turn it on, she'd leave you in there longer and she'd tell you not to turn on the thing and you would, and it was just there were spiders in there too. So it's like, yeah, you just knew not to turn on that light because then you would be in there longer. And sometimes she'll leave you in there for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. Sometimes she'd forget because she would be so like high off her mind. You'd be in there for like 5 hours. Um, I remember peeing myself in there once because, okay, and I was 10 years old. Okay, so
And that makes sense as to why she probably even misplaced the key, lost the key,
yeah,
forgot or something. Because all I know is like one of us, I don't remember if it was me, Daisy, the little ones, but I remember someone was locked in there. And I don't even know what explanation she gave the locksmith or whoever came, but like I
yeah,
said, there was people around us, and for some reason,
it
somehow
just went underneath the rug.
they
Yeah,
just didn't really zoom in, pay close attention,
yeah,
pay mind, care.
yeah.
But do you remember the corner
Yeah, so
things?
that was the punishment that I feel like I have more vividly because um correct me if I'm wrong, and if I can figure out how to put in pictures like to put them up here in this video,
Mm-hmm.
there was these small blue handballs
Mm.
that you would use to play in these long concrete
I think it's
handballs.
handball.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
handball, right? And they were really really small, but they were also really really like
Dense.
yeah, like dense and
Mm-hmm.
also like sturdy,
Mm-hmm.
like grippy. Um and she'd be high and she'd put you against like a corner and she'd throw these balls at you, and the more you cried the harder she'd throw. Like it was a continuous of like the more you keep crying, she would tell me, thinking about it now, she would tell me, if you keep crying, I'm gonna give you something to cry about.
Yeah.
That was her line, and she would throw it so hard it would end up on your back like consistently, or on your head, whatever it was.
And then wasn't it something like you had to stay there long, like you couldn't just like, because I'm picturing beans too, that could be some from someone else's house,
Yeah.
a different experience, or it might be mom that I'm thinking about, but I remember there being like holding cans or holding something, and she would throw them at us and we had to like basically withhold it, because if we fell or if we who mom,
Oh my
speaking
god.
of mother,
I was like, who is blowing you
it's my
up?
mother. But anyways, yeah, and I would remember that we would have to like not withhold it, but like basically not fall fast, because if we fell fast or like if we cried or like hit the floor, whatever it is, like it would be worse for us. Like we had to almost like endure it is like what
Yeah.
I'm remembering.
See, I don't remember that.
No?
No. You know what memory did come up to me?
Hmm.
Um, beer.
Mm.
One of her
Mm.
punishments that I remember is the Heineken beer bottle. Again, I was 10 years old and you were 7, and she forced us to drink a full bottle of Heineken at that age.
Hmm. And I'm smiling only because I don't know if she knows this, but listen, I've always been, if something's not right, I'm gonna say it. If it's nasty, I'm not gonna eat it. If you know all of that, okay. Very stubborn, I guess you can say, but
Yeah.
it worked in my advantage this time. And actually, I don't know if mom even knows this, which is why I'm laughing because the cat is coming out of the bag.
Okay.
So yeah, so the thing with the beer, it's funny because I did reference to her like maybe a couple months back, and I told her, I was like, Mom, did you know that you were the first person? You were my first person that I took a sip of alcohol
With?
with at that age. And that's probably why I don't like it now. Cause no. But I also remember a loved one we'll speak more about on a different episode coming up. But
Yes.
this significant person gave us a bag of, it was like mixed candies.
Okay.
Like it was like a bag of like, though I remember the Whoppers,
Okay.
Whopper
I
chocolates.
love Whoppers. Till this day, give me a bag of Whoppers and I'll up.
Yeah. So it was like Whoppers, it was like Butterfingers, like it was just a mixed bag, okay? Mind you, this is Heineken's, this is beer,
Mhm.
nasty in general, but that person gave us a bag. I don't know if you remember, but he gave us a bag of those, and they were forcing us to drink the alcohol. However, to make it easier on us, they gave us those chocolates. Now, and I don't know if you remember this, but that said person told us, like, basically as a chaser, to eat the Whoppers. You don't remember that?
No.
Yes.
I just remember drinking the whole
No, because we were in
bottle.
the living room, right? Okay,
Yes.
I remember us in the living room. Mom and said person were like by the door,
Mhm.
and boom, we each had one. He comes up with this bag, he gives us this bag, and basically, like I said, at that time I didn't know that that was like a chaser, but he was basically giving us Whoppers for the taste afterwards.
Oh.
If you've ever drank or ever had a sip or even smelled beer, imagine that with chocolate Whoppers. That's disgusting.
Dang.
That is nasty. Yeah, I remember that. And then two, at that age, I didn't know, like, I don't know, maybe I thought I was cool at that age because I seen like that person, that loved one, and my mom doing it. I thought like, oh, I'm cool because I'm doing it like with them.
Yeah.
I don't know, okay, but I remember we I don't know if we finished it or if it was halfway. All I know is that there was like a couch like this. There was a little bit of space behind the couch, and then there was the kitchen.
Yeah.
And you know how I had like a little area where you can kind of like from the kitchen you can see into the living
Yeah.
room. Okay, so there was a little strip of carpet behind the couch, and what I did was when they weren't looking or when my mom wasn't looking, I poured the beer on the carpet because I realized like the carpet absorbs
Yeah.
water. So I was like, okay, I don't know how they didn't find out, or mom, if you did and you just chose to spare me. But I poured the alcohol or the beer on the carpet to like try to down it
Yeah.
and make it seem like I drank it because it was nasty. And then I remember that mom had asked me to get her another one or said love one. I went into the kitchen with mine and it was already like halfway gone because I had poured it on the thing and you were actually drinking it, I think.
Yeah. Well,
I
I
was
was
doing
scared of
that.
the repercussions,
Yeah.
which after you finish your story,
Mhm.
there's a word that you use that I'm just yeah. But
Okay, well let me
continue.
finish mine.
Yeah.
So I went into the kitchen and I poured the rest of the Heineken down the drain. I gave my mom one and I was like, "Oh, I finished mine. I finished mine." She's like, "No, you didn't." Like I said, maybe she knew that I poured it down the sink, but not behind the couch,
Okay.
because that would have been bad had she known that I did that, especially because social workers were around and all that. So yeah, it would have been bad. But I did that, and she grabbed another one. And when she no, when she told me to grab another one and she took the lid off or whatever,
Okay.
I feel like at that moment is when I got a little bit scared, because in my brain it was like, for what? I didn't know anything else. It was just like, for what? Like, this already tastes nasty.
Yeah.
Mom wasn't the type of person that would chill with us like that. Like,
Yeah.
any quality time we had with her, 9 times out of 10 there was abuse present,
Yeah.
um or neglect or starve. Like, that was our relationship with her. So to me it's like, why are you laughing? Little did I know she was drunk.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing? Why are you giving me another one? Why are you acting cool? And like I said, there was candy in the mix and we're young, mind you, we're starved also. So it's kind
Mhm.
of like, why? That question of why.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until later when we were adults that she said like, "Oh, I think I just wanted to see you guys drunk." I think that was the comment that she had made when we were a lot older, when I had asked her, when I brought up the conversation like, "Mom, did you
But
know?"
even that mindset of like, oh, I just wanted to see how you
Mhm.
guys were drunk at that age, like that's sick. That's like just so sick.
I felt like we were, when she told me that, as adults, I felt like an experiment. I felt
Yeah. Yeah.
like, did you really see us as your daughters, or did you see us as entertainment? Because like I said, the games.
Damn, wait. That was dang. Okay, I felt
Yeah.
that.
Cuz
Wait,
if you
I
think
felt
about
that.
it, the games.
Mhm.
You were laughing and you were getting a kick out of it, but we're your daughters. You don't do that to your loved ones. You don't do that to your kids.
Mhm.
And then now with this, it's like, okay, I'm feeling love, like motherly love. Little did I know that's not motherly love. And then as I got older, she told me like, no, maybe I just wanted to see you guys drunk. Like, why were we even there?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what made you, like, was there a disconnection between your daughters and you because of the drug, because of your childhood,
Yeah.
because you thought it was normal? Like, the
Yeah.
questions is when it started popping up then. Oh, I see you getting emotional,
Sorry,
sister.
I'm only getting emotional because it's like I think what you said hit me like a little bit too hard of like, did you see us as your daughters or did you just see us as entertainment?
Mhm.
Like I said earlier before I let you finish, it's just like you used a word about like where she spared me, and
Mhm.
I feel like a bunch of um a bunch of the times I felt like it's crazy that you thought that way because for me it's like mom never spared me.
Mhm.
Like, and I feel like that's why I drank the whole bottle because I grew up so traumatized and so hurt of the woman that she became when she was drunk or like when
Mhm.
she was high or whatever it was. It's just like I knew that if I did what you did, it was just she would not spare me.
Mhm.
Like there was just like I said it in the first episode, like I felt like the black sheep of the family.
Mhm.
And looking back, just like what you said about entertainment, it's like, yeah, I think that just hit me. I think it just hurt me. Yeah.
Yeah. But these are all like I said, like, I was little, I wasn't aware of a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that I didn't feel. That doesn't mean that I didn't, like, it was when I said in the first episode like, oh, I it was just normal. Like, understand not having another example of life, but that understand, try to put yourself in a position of like, this is every day, 24/7, normal screams, normal pains, no more, like, it was just normal.
Yeah.
But that didn't mean that I felt like I was deserving of it. I That didn't mean that I felt like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Um, Maybe just to uh talk a little bit deeper about this
Mhm.
punishments.
Mhm.
We talked about the corner and the wall.
Oh,
We talked about.
sorry, I had another one. This
Okay.
is might be a little bit rough. But I do remember speaking on punishments
Okay.
back in the day. This was 2011, mind you, when we were in the Tustin apartments. To give you guys like an exact year, better timeline for you guys.
Yeah.
Age is already out there. We already said it, but um, so at that time, these belts were really popular. There
Okay.
were the I hope I don't get canceled for this. I'm just uneducated, so please spare me.
Okay.
Um, I would call them emo belts
Oh,
because they had it was
I'm gonna cancel you right now.
listen, okay, there were those belts. I
Okay.
think that they would sell them at like Hot Topic or something.
Okay, I'm gonna cancel you even more.
Okay, not too much. That's why I said I'm not educated. Please.
Okay.
And they had these like triangle, or they were squares, but it had like triangle
I'll put a
tips.
picture up. I know
Okay.
exactly what belt you're talking about.
So those famous ones, like I said, this might be harder on you, but I do remember, and I don't know if you still have it, but I remember as one of mom's punishments. Like I said, our mom wasn't fully there.
Mhm.
She was either under the substance of alcohol, substance of
Drugs.
drugs, um, but when she would get upset, it wasn't just like I said, more descriptive this episode. It wasn't just a slap. It wasn't just I hit you a couple times with a chancla,
Yeah.
a hanger. It was more than that. And I remember mom wouldn't stop until either she was physically tired, until there was some type of blood, and this is where this comes in. Until basically she was satisfied, till she was tired, till she was done, it was her. I have a memory of you getting in front of us. She had one of those belts. And I remember it because those belts, the way they were hooked into the belt itself, there was these like spikes that were holding it into the leather. And I have like memories of like you defending us. You would get in front of us. And it kind of goes back to how you said like you never felt like mom spared you.
Mhm.
Um, but like I have this memory of her like basically going crazy,
Mhm.
and the image of her like raising her hand with the belt, and you kind of like literally sheltering us back towards her.
Mhm. Sorry. um. Thing. um. I'm like having I'm having flashbacks, so I feel like that's what's I'm trying not to zone out. Um yeah, dang. I knew this episode was going to be hard, and I knew that doing this podcast was going to be really really hard, especially just the triggering aspect of it. But you bringing up that belt, gosh, this is why I said that your brain is supposed to like it creates this cocoon to like shelter you, and not until you brought up that belt and the moment that you described it, it's like I knew exactly what we were talking about, but I didn't remember it until right now until you mentioned it.
Our brain will our brain will do crazy things to protect us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that like you might remember some of it, and then you're like, oh, well, what happened to the rest? I know it was bad, but like, what happened? Your brain will literally block it to protect you.
Yeah.
And as children, you're developing, you're growing. So I feel like that's a bigger reason as to why our brain does that. It's really to protect us, which is so crazy.
Yeah. I just um it's why I said that for me it was like mom never spared me because I just had a really hard time and a really hard relationship with mom growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like what you said, mom would not quit until she was physically tired or until there was blood.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was when mom put me into the responsibility of like watching over you girls. I'm not to say that I was perfect, and
Mhm.
like there's some things in our childhood where I regret it because the terror that I felt with mom, I felt like sometimes I put that on you.
Yeah.
And I've through therapy, like I've tried to like see that I was only 10 years old and I knew nothing better. This was my normal. For me, it was I wanted to protect you and the two girls from everything and anyone. And that meant mom, even knowing that I was going to go through those repercussions, even knowing that if I were to shield you when she was coming at one of you guys, it would get her more worked up and more angry and more violent. And I didn't care. And maybe it was because I was so used to getting hit, and maybe I was so used to feeling that belt on my back that at some point I just kind of numbed it out. But I knew what to watch for.
Mhm.
And I knew that for me it was I would do it all over again if it meant just protecting you three. And like I said, like I've mentioned before, I just felt like the odd one out. So
Mhm.
for me, it was like, in a way, maybe I also felt like I deserved it,
Mhm.
or that, that you girls, I don't know if probably our viewers have noticed, but we are two completely different skin types.
Mhm.
We are two completely different types of hair lengths and styles. And you three girls were the güeritas. You were pale skin. Um, you were just different from me.
Mhm.
And I was the only morenita, and I was the only one with the straight lacio hair. And I feel like that's why I felt like I deserved it. Like
Mhm.
I felt like mom took it out on me a lot because I deserved it.
I wanted to touch base kind of on what you said, like you saying that you feel like mom didn't spare you, and do you feel like you got, would you say you got like the worst version of her,
I'd say I got
or the most like violent version of her, or like how would you?
I think that evil exists in all of us. And I think I got the most evilest, monstrous, no feeling, no empathy version of mom. Like, I feel like I just look back and I just think of like, I think of like now as like how old I am.
Mhm.
And I look at like, because I've worked with, I was a preschool teacher. How could you ever hurt a child to the point where they're bleeding, to the point where they can't walk? Like, how could you do that and not feel empathy or not feel like your heart tugged at any point? And it's just like, for me, it was like I saw mom as a monster. I saw mom as like beyond, I didn't even see her as a mother. I just saw her like, if I'm being 100% honest,
Mhm.
as a waste of space. If you could hurt me that drastically, and because I was protecting my sisters, you would hurt me that much more, then what?
What are you?
Yeah, that was the version I got.
Were you ever confused? Because, like you said, like last episode, that mom was attentive and she would do our hair when she wasn't, like on any kind of substance. Like at that moment, would you, like when the abuse was happening, when she was hitting you, when she was lashing out, like would you ever like question, like, why am I getting this version, or like why does it switch on and off? Like you were aware that drugs were present, yes, but like did you ever ask or like wonder to yourself? Like that's how my brain works. I question, I overanalyze, I overthink. So like my brain is always why, or how.
I think maybe it's why I like never faced her
Mm-hmm.
when she was hitting me. Maybe that's why I like faced my back towards her, because I felt like if I would have faced her, I would have looked at her eyes and like wondered like, is my mom there? Like, is the small portions of like love that she gives and takes, like, is she there? And I feel
Mhm.
like I was so used to like that way I wouldn't have to see this version of my mom where like there's just no love, there's just pure hatred and anger and whatever was going on during like her mindset. So I feel like I did question it, but again, I feel like I faced away from her so that I wouldn't see her eyes and wonder if
You self-consciously protected yourself in a way.
hmm,
Like you didn't know at that moment, but that's probably why your body.
yeah.
And see you saying like you felt like she wouldn't spare you. I would see a lot of that. Like I said, I remember that. But when I was younger, I would also kind of think that you had it easier than I imagined, than I'm hearing than I thought. Um, you know, if my sister could figure it out, we'd like to share a picture to better help you guys understand this topic and the next ones to follow. Um, yes, we could describe, yes, we could share our stories. You can hear the pain in our voice, in our eyes. But I feel like that picture, one glance, and you can kind of see.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, I felt like you and the youngest were more loved in a way. I felt like you guys were more like cared for
Okay.
versus me and the third baby sister. And the reason why I say that is because if you see the picture, we will have their faces blurred out, but you'll see me and my sister. You can see me like I'm bald. Um, the clothes. I thought honestly when I first saw that picture, it's funny now, but when I first saw it, I'm not gonna lie, it was very heartbreaking because I didn't even know that that was me.
Yeah.
And to me, it goes back to like what I said earlier. Like I don't know, like I would think for girls, you're a woman yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like not only did you put me down like emotionally, physically, nutrition wise, priority wise, but like I literally looked like like
Like a boy.
like like not like a it's a name for it. It's like you know how in the Barbie movie, the trauma doll, or like the doll that like it was her hair's
Yeah,
messed
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like you play with her too much and like you break her.
Yeah.
When I saw that picture, that's kind of what it reminded me of, like just
God played too much and you hurt her.
or like you just like I was just like I said like an experiment, like you just
Yeah.
oh I don't want to take time to do your hair, I don't want to boom and like it wasn't just me, it was a third one and like I would see you guys like you mentioned how like you saw us and you were like oh well they're lighter, they have curly hair like and
Mm-hmm.
I'm different like I saw myself like that too. Like, okay, well, my older sister and my younger sister, like, mom would buy you guys, mom would buy you phones, mom would do your nails, mom would let you go out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
You had your hair, she would do your hair. Like, I saw more of communication with her versus me and the other one. It was very like nothing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I didn't know the kind of relationship, the fear that you had, but from my point of view is like, why is she getting this? Why is she getting treated like this? Why is she getting more time invested into her? And I'm over here. And like I said, at the moment, I didn't know that I looked like a boy. I didn't know that I honestly, I don't like, I felt like I represented like nothing. Like,
Yeah.
if when you see the picture, when y'all see the picture, you can't tell me that that looks like a loved
Child.
family,
Yeah.
a loved child. You, it wasn't that. So it's kind of like an eye opener to hear that you thought like she didn't spare me, and I'm over here at that age thinking like you got so much love poured into you because of those visual things that I would
Yeah.
see, and I didn't know.
Yeah. And a lot of the visual things like you mentioned, like the getting my hair like, well, I've always had super straight hair, so it's like um there really wasn't much to do to my hair, but the nails or like the phone stuff. The reason that I got all those things was mom's way of again manipulating you, of well manipulating me.
Mm-hmm.
She would The only reason I had a phone was again like we mentioned earlier, she was gone for a week, 2 weeks max. And that was her way of communicating with me. Like
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that the girl, like if that was her excuse of being a good parent to, oh, I still have communication with my daughter and my three and my two wait, my three other girls are okay because I still have that open line communication with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So that was her way of like, you get a phone, but because that gives me an excuse to be out of the house and not be a parent, and I can check up on you whenever I want. The nails was her way of like, in a way, I learned how to hustle my mom. Like, if I was gonna get hurt, if I was gonna put up with your abuse, then I was gonna get something out of it. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like my way of hustling mom of like, you want me to stay quiet? Like,
Pay for my nails.
pay for, yeah, exactly. Pay for my nails. Like, do something. Cause I was 10 years old. And she also learned how to like manipulate me in the sense of like, I had a close friend
Mm-hmm.
back then, and the only way I could be a child was if she was at home and I could go see my friend. And if she didn't want me to go see that friend, then there was no way of going, like, I couldn't go see her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she'd be like, okay, you want to go see your friend? Fine, you can go see your friend, but then I'm going to be gone for X amount of days.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, that's her way of like, I give you, but I also take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just crazy the way that we have two different point of views, and I feel like this is what makes our podcast alone very different because you see the way I felt, you got to see glimpses of that. But then you also got to see a different like perspective of how you felt
Mm-hmm.
and how you saw things growing up when we really put the two pieces together and it's like, wow, it's not either way of how we both viewed it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was completely different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how like certain things I remember you don't,
Yeah.
or like I speak about and you remember, and it's like, oh yeah, like I forgot that puzzle piece fit there. I didn't know that that was the missing puzzle piece, like type
Yeah.
stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. But while this all was going on, we were obviously at the age of when we were in school.
Mm-hmm. Middle school, no, or elementary. No,
Don't make me do those calculations.
I don't know. But remember our ages; they were provided.
Yeah. I just remember being horribly and academically behind in school. Um, but one of the things that we did need to talk about is okay, probably our viewers are thinking it. If they're getting hurt abusively
There's
all the time,
screams.
they're,
There's
yeah,
people in and out the house. There's drugs.
how are we
There's.
hiding it? How
Mhm.
is our mom hiding it? The abuse wise, close. I till this day have scars on my back,
Mm.
and our mom was so good at clothes wise, like controlling us. Like if there was a bruise on our arm or something that she knew that like teachers could easily report it or say like what happened, or ask us further questions, she'd make us wear like clothes where you couldn't see any parts of our body. And
Mhm.
it'd be hot during the summer and we'd be wearing long sleeves during the summer
And going to school.
and going to school. And I remember this one time at parent teacher conference,
Mhm.
and this teacher had told mom, which I'm surprised mom actually came to that teacher parent conference, but
Mhm.
she came. And I remember the teacher telling her that I was very, very academically behind and that I needed to start bringing my own food because she noticed during lunch that I was eating off of my friends' food. Like they would share small portions of their food.
Mhm.
And mom basically said, okay. And that was the last discussion that was had from the teacher. And my grades were still bad. I was still academically behind, and nothing was brought up again.
That's crazy.
hmm And can we also mention the fact that during school, we would come late? I remember coming in late all the time, and it would be like 11, 12 o'clock, like lunchtime, maybe 10 o'clock. We're pushing it.
Mhm.
I'd come late because I had to wait for the daycare lady to pick the two younger girls up. Then I had to walk with you,
Mhm.
and we'd come late all the time. And no one would check us in. Like it was just we'd come late.
And then too, I mean, I guess it's kind of normal for kids to walk to school now, like
Yeah.
even middle school. So I kind of understand maybe there not being like an alarm or anything for the teachers to like, oh, like the student is coming late by themselves. Like, but even then,
Yeah.
because like I said, like, or like you said, like mom was really good at changing or like making us change into clothes that would hide certain things, hide bruisings or whatever it is. But I remember wearing the same thing almost every day, but I
Mhm.
also remember there being, which is kind of confusing, but I remember in our room we had a basket
Yeah.
and it was like full of clothes, but it wasn't like a regular like dirty laundry basket. No, it was like one of those that you like when you're gonna move and you have like that big thing, yeah, and it was like that of clothes, but it was dirty clothes. It was dirty laundry, but we would wear the same clothes every day. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused because, like, am I not remembering it right? Was there like, because I remember wearing these boots
Okay.
that did not fit me, um, and this skirt, this mini skirt, and a tank top to school. And I remember walking to school and I remember the boots so vividly because they were so uncomfortably tight around my toes. Like they did not fit me, but we did not have clothes. Like that's what I'm saying. Like we had clothes, but we didn't have clothes. So like help me understand, or maybe you can provide like what was that? Like we would wear the same clothes,
Yeah, it's
but
just mainly that mom just spent all her money on everything else except us.
because
Like
we had to go to a
laundry,
laundry room.
she
Oh, that
she'd
makes sense.
wash from time to time, but it was like she didn't really care. Like in her mind it was probably like, well, there's clothes. It might not smell clean, it might not look clean, but there's clothes so you can wear and choose whatever you want. And same thing goes with like me. Like I remember wearing these shorts all the time. And it was these pair of shorts all the time. And it was just like,
The fact that the teachers, principals, staff, teacher aides, whatever, the fact that they didn't notice, or maybe they did and just didn't care to report, because there was a lot of adults
mhm,
around us that, and like I said, like this went on until a set event,
yeah,
but we have the daycare lady, we have the neighbors, we have the social workers, we have the
teachers, principals. We just had so many adults who, if I'm being honest,
yeah.
failed us as kids. And I feel like the reason that we started this podcast is to bring awareness to the fact that so many of these events should not have been overlooked.
No.
And I want to start by saying, like, especially the school aspect or the clothes, everything. There's kids nowadays,
Mhm.
let me be honest. Kids nowadays are a little rough.
Mhm.
They're no filter. And you know what? I respect it from time to time. I really do because they know how to use their voice. But sometimes to use your voice can really hurt someone and they don't understand the gravity of like or the weight of like how much words really hurt. And for kids nowadays, like teachers, please, principals, any adult in general, if you see a kid who is wearing the clothes repeatedly day after day, and youths nowadays too, like general, anyone,
Or it's hot outside and you see
yeah,
that this student is repeatedly wearing like long sleeves and it's like, dude, it's unbearably hot. What are you doing?
there is something to ask, there is something to dig further into. And for everyone who's, going to school, sometimes we like to label it as like they just have poor hygiene or they're just a smelly kid. You never know what's actually going like behind closed
Mhm.
doors. And it is so important to ask further questions rather than just assume.
Or
Just
judge.
yeah, or judge that they're just choosing to wear the same clothes because that's what they decided to wear every day. And it's not that. We didn't choose to wear those like boots or those shorts continuously. We had clothes, but we had a neglectful mother at home.
Yeah.
We had things at home, but yet mom was never providing them.
Or it wasn't a priority for her.
Yeah.
Because remember, also at this time with her, we're not touching too much on him because that will be next week's podcast. But there were there were two individuals, at least two individuals in a household that were using, not counting the random men coming in and out, not
Mhm.
counting our homegirls, homeboys, whatever that lived around us. So with all of those people being around, like drugs, they're addicts. Their main priority is what? Where when is their next fix, when they can get their next fix. And I feel like not only were we put to our sides, but our day-to-day necessities as a child to maneuver the world to live were also put at the very very end.
Yeah.
So it's not just the household impacting us, it's also her not being a responsible parent also
Yeah.
pushed our bare minimum, our needs, all the way to the left.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why it's so important. We want to bring this is the part of our podcast where we want to bring awareness to that. If you see a kid who is wearing long sleeves during the summer, who is continuously wearing the same clothes day in and day out,
Who's skinny?
who's skinny, who's malnourished, ask those questions. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's their choice. But maybe it's like us where had someone asked, had and look, I get it nowadays, CPS to be called. Sometimes y'all are reporting the wrong thing for the smallest little thing. Okay? And the people that you should be reporting or you should be like keeping tally of like, well, I see this kid and he looks like he's doesn't bring food at lunch every day, or he looks really skinny all of a sudden, or he's keeping to himself all of a sudden. Like those are the questions and that's when you make that call. Mandated reporters, you never know when you're going to save someone's life. And also youths, please be kind because it's hard already managing like just the world out here. And if you add to like where you're getting bullied on a sense, or kids are just being mean, it's like you just never know.
Yeah.
Just because you get to wear brand new clothes every new school year doesn't mean that we everyone is on the same surface level and everyone's at the equal playing field. It's not like that.
And you know what? That was hard. Like even living with mom and not and being in the system, like now that you bring that up about how kids nowadays, even I'm pretty sure you know new people when you were going to school, but like coming back from my Christmas break, like it was, yeah, it was fun because I got to see all my friends again.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was the most embarrassing time
Hmm.
because everyone would come back with like new clothes, new shoes.
Yeah. And you'd be with the same thing that you wore every other day.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and they would have these stories, or like, everyone knows the whole, like, what did you do from after winter break or spring break, and everyone would be like, oh, I went here, I went there. Like, I got my world rocked every day. Like, that
Yeah.
was, and that's hard.
Yeah. And it's so important too, because again, it's what people need to understand. We are not all at the same equal playing field as
We all
everyone.
don't get, sorry, but we're
Mhm.
all not born with a beautiful blessed family where, your parents did good, now they're doing, great parents for you, they're able to provide for you. I'm not knocking you guys down
Yeah.
for having that. If anything, I love that, and you're so blessed to have that. But where it becomes an issue is when those individuals, like I said, we all know maybe one that will come around, and just because they have a little bit more, or because their family was able to give them more, that you can come around and try to dim down someone's light that you already see is going through a hard time.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That's not nice, obviously, but it's just, and honestly, that's very ugly. That's
Yeah.
very ugly. You can be fine, you can be pretty, you can be whatever. But if your heart is like that, that's an issue. That's no.
Yeah.
That's ugly inside, and you can't get rid of that. So, I just wanted to put that 2 cents out, because I know maybe someone needed to hear that, but that's very important. It's not okay to do that. It's not okay to bring kids down. It's not okay, classmates, whatever it is, it's not okay. You never know the other story. You never know what's going on at home. You just don't know.
Yeah.
And
And the
that can really send someone into a spiral,
yeah.
that has sent people into spirals.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, you have control what you say, but you
Yeah.
have no control how that person is going to take it and what they
Mhm.
do from there.
Mhm. The bottom line is just treat humans with decency. It is
Be
not
kind.
hard to be kind. And for the youths who may be listening to this, who may have like, you know, come upon our podcast,
Mm-hmm.
if you are in a similar situation, let me start by saying you are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast is to show people that you are not alone.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. We didn't get to grow up in those beautiful, perfect families. Like, we come from a very broken timeline. We get it, and you're not alone. And you know what? I always say broken is beautiful. And I
Mm-hmm.
know it's cliche, and I know people be saying it all the time. But you know what? I'm very broken. I cried in this podcast, and it's podcast two. Like, it's just number two.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's still beautiful because it's vulnerability. It's showing people that that's strength and there's resilience. And despite what other people say, you can come out of it.
Mm-hmm. And that those things don't define you.
Hmm.
Like I said, like, unfortunately, well, if you were given those cards, it's very unfortunate. We have zero control of how we come into this world, who our parents are, but just know that that doesn't define you. Like, if I'm being very real, there is no if you're currently going through it, like, continue staying strong. It's really hard for kids in the system, because unfortunately that's all we can do,
Yeah.
is continue, be strong, and deal with it. But just know, like, when you're out of it, or as you grow older, you're going to be able to see, like, those things don't define you. You're going to grow, and we all have choices, which is another episode that we're going to talk on.
Yeah.
You can beat those odds. You can be more than your background. You can be more than what people say about you at school,
Hmm.
at home, because you get pushed down, unfortunately, not just at school, but at home too.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just wanted to preface saying that, and I think it turned a little bit, obviously we always want to meet, like, this podcast is to be very vulnerable with each other,
Mm-hmm.
to understand our different point of views, but also at the end of the day, like, we don't want to just open up wounds and leave you guys at home, like, with open wounds. We want to
Yeah.
close them. We want to leave you with, like, hope at the end, because at the end of the day, like, this podcast is to bring hope. I wish I could be like, yeah, all the foster children out there, where life is so beautiful now. Like, I wish I could wave a bippity boppity boo little wand and say, you know what? It's gonna get better from here. Life is hard, life sucks, but you just make the most of it. Like, you just make the most of it and you put one foot in front of the other and you keep going and just grasp onto that little bit of hope. 'Cause